And it's time for the latest in the world of K-sports with sportscaster Jason Lee. Welcome, Jason.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
I noticed all the baseball players from Korea were doing this every time they got a hit at the Premier 12. I forgot to mention that last time, but yeah, so this is like the big Korean celebration anytime something good happens.
Well, Walter, you mentioned Apatu like around 5 times today.
Yeah, I know.
Why didn't you?
Yeah, I should have done it, yes. I should have to celebrate for Rosé.
Anyways, now from Rosé to sports, I think it has gotten a little colder since the last time we saw you here in the studio, but I think that also means that many people won't go outdoors for exercises or sporty activities. But I think that's not the case when we talk about sports news. There's always something to talk about, right?
Always a lot of heat going on. Certainly at this time of year, a lot of awards going on, a lot of leagues finishing up. So yeah, a lot of things kind of wrapping up in December.
Exactly. Now let's start with the soccer league. So Korea's national team doesn't play again until March, but it's been a past couple of weeks very busy in soccer for both the Korea's domestic league as well as Korean players in Europe. So why don't we start with on the domestic front?
Yeah, of course. Domestically, the Korean Cup just finished up with K-League 1 division, and it was the Pohang Steelers that went on to take the championship title. They defeated Ulsan HDFC 3-1 in the finals, and this is actually Pohang's second time winning this in the last 2 years. So they are now back-to-back champions, certainly a great feat for them. On the other hand, do note that the Korean Cup, it's basically like the FA Cup rebranded. So it's a tournament that takes place between a lot of the top teams in Korea, even beyond the K-League 1 teams. But when it comes to the actual accolades of the season, Ulsan HDFC probably had the better year overall, not only finishing second in this tournament to Pohang, but they actually went on to win their 3rd straight league title. So another championship under their belt, and they did that with the distraction of Hong Myung-bo leaving the team as head coach back in the summer. So that was kind of a distraction for them, but they were still able to go on and win the league title for a 3rd straight year. So both congratulations to Pohang as well as Ulsan HDFC.
Those were definitely some exciting games that we saw. And
Yes, I've been keeping an eye on the Premier League recently and a lot of the Koreans in Europe. And I know that recently Sungmin's Spurs have been on the ups and downs recently. So how are the Korean soccer players doing over in Europe at the moment?
Well, Son Heung-min actually just played this morning. The Tottenham Hotspurs played Bournemouth, and they actually lost that game 1-0. Son Heung-min did not start in the game. He entered the game around the 56-minute mark, and actually just a couple of minutes in, he scored a goal, but they deemed him to be offside by like a half step, so it didn't count. It was unfortunate because they were already losing 1-0 at the time. It could have been the equalizing goal. Unfortunately, they end up losing the game 1-0 to Bournemouth, who actually jumped them in the standings. So Tottenham now dropped down to 10th overall in the standings with the loss this morning. Meanwhile, Son Heung-min did score a goal last week in the Europa Cup when they played against Roma. That game finished in a 2-2 tie, Son Heung-min scoring on a penalty shot just 5 minutes in, once again showing that he is the captain of this team. When they need a shooter for penalty shots, they turn to him. He's counted on, and he was able to bury it. So a great game for him, even though it was a 2-2 draw in the end. Also, I do want to mention that Kim Min-jae, who plays for Bayern Munich, he actually scored a goal as well. So it was on a rebound. He got a header in off a set play rebound, and that was the deciding goal as Bayern Munich were able to defeat PSG 1-0. And of course, PSG is the team that Lee Kang-in plays for in Champions League. So it was kind of a battle of 2 of the top Korean players in the Champions League. And this time around, it was Kim Min-jae's Bayern Munich that came out on top 1-0.
I believe it was his debut goal for
this year, yeah.
Yeah, for
That's
Bayern
right.
Munich as well.
Well, Bayern Munich, or Bayern München, how I would like to call the team, was one of my favorite teams when I was back in Germany. But I wish we would have had a Korean player back then.
Yeah.
But it's definitely great to see all these Korean stars in more and more teams in Europe. And speaking of which, we want to talk a little bit about Yang Min-Hyeok, the K-League One's top young player. And I think he's one of the next great Korean players to watch out for, especially because he's also probably likely going to Europe.
That's right. So the K-League One also just had their league award ceremonies. And indeed, Yang Min-Hyeok was awarded the best young player of the year at just 18 years of age. I mean, there are players in the K-League One that are 18. Like, that's not unusual. But for him to win Rookie of the Year at that age, it's just ridiculous. He scored his first goal when he was 17. So he's got the record for the youngest player to have ever scored in the top Korean league. And it's taken notice, not just in Korea, but in fact, the Tottenham Hotspurs, of course, who also employ Son Heung-min, they have signed him on right up until 2030.
Wow.
So they've seen him from afar. They've obviously probably got some good scouting reports from Son Heung-min himself. And he is going to be going over to England, I believe, next week. So he's going to acclimate himself as early as possible and then probably, go through some training with the team and get to know everyone, the system and stuff. It's probably going to take a little bit of time before he gets to run with the first team. But who knows? Perhaps in the not too distant future, he'll be able to run with the Son Heung-mins and other top players of the Tottenham Hotspurs in the near future. And I do want to note, I mean, at just 18 years of age, it's very, very young. We'll probably have to wait a little bit in terms of patience. But this is a player, Yang Min-Hyeok, that we're going to see a lot of in the future, not just in Europe, but also on the national team. He's been called up by Hong Myung-bo before, has not played quite yet, but he's also going to be a star for Korea when it comes to the 2028 Summer Olympics for the under-23 team as well. So we can expect a lot of big things from Yang Min-Hyeok in the future.
I'm really looking forward to see his debut game in the UK. But so, I mean, rookie, you would think that young players would be able to receive the rookie prize, but as you said, it's incredible that he got that at 18. So that means usually soccer players, they would have to wait a few more years in their 20s?
The way I would put it, I mean, it's possible. Like, you're allowed to win it when he did win it, but it's just the reality of the league is you're able to win the top rookie award up until the age of 23, and also with up to 3 years of experience. So the fact that he's beating out players that are 5 years his senior, and perhaps some players that have been in the K-League One for 2 years already, it really shows just how mature of a player that he has been at this earliest stage. And also scoring 12 goals, by the way, with 16 assists in 38 games. And also to note that the team that he plays with, Gangwon FC, this is a team that, worked its way up. They were not a top team in the K-League One the year before. So it was really his addition to this team that led them to a second place finish in the standings. So certainly his contributions were very big. Along with his head coach, by the way, Yoon Jong-hwan, I should mention, also was won the award for top head coach in the league as well. So in the awards, obviously his contribution for the development of Yang Min-Hyeok was well received as well.
I see.
Yes, I could speak about football with you all day, Jason, but we've got to move on to other Korean athletes moving abroad in this world baseball. And I heard that Kium Heroes star Kim Hye-sung has now been posted and is expected to sign with Major League Baseball team sometime within the next month. Where do you think he is most likely to end up?
Yeah, that's right. He was posted this week, 2 days ago. And what that means is for the next 30 days from that point, he can sign on with any Major League Baseball team. He can negotiate with anybody he wants. And I think when you look at the teams that are in most need of a top second baseman, the San Diego Padres make a lot of sense, as do the San Francisco Giants, the Seattle Mariners, the Toronto Blue Jays, perhaps the New York Mets as well. And I think those are teams that could use a second baseman, investment and also have the money to spend to go and attract a player of Kim Hye-sung's calibers, because not only is he a top offensive player in terms of batting average and base stealing ability, but he's also got very good defensive skills at his position. He can also play shortstop, not just second base, so he's got some versatility. I think what will be interesting, I mentioned that San Diego is one of the teams that he could end up with, and that's the team that has Kim Hye-sung already, his former teammate, but he's had a season-ending injury and he's elected free agency. So he could actually be replaced by his hube, his junior from his Kium days, by Kim Hye-sung.
They even have a very similar name.
Yeah, Kim Hye-sung and Kim Hye-sung, it's similar names as well, and they could be replacing one another is a very real possibility.
Well, let's keep our eyes on that, how that evolves. But Jason, there seems to be a lot of news regarding KBO. It's also the next season, 2025, because we're going to have some new rules implemented, such as the pitch clock and also the ABS strike zone. So can you tell us more about that?
Yes, the ABS strike zone was implemented last year as it was. However, they're going to tweak it ever so little. For the most part, I think the league and fans were happy with how the pitch clock and the ABS system was run. But the ABS will actually be lowered by about 1 centimeter. So the strike zone will remain the same size, but it will get a little bit lower down, which might help out the junk ball pitchers, your changeup pitchers, because a lower strike will be called, whereas your power fastball throwers, it might not be as advantageous to them. Meanwhile, the pitch clock will also be brought in. The pitch clock was used this past season, but it wasn't enforced. So pitchers could see the countdown, batters could see the countdown, but there was no penalty if the pitch was not thrown in time. Whereas for the upcoming season, if the pitcher does not start his windup 25 seconds in with a runner on base or 20 seconds in with the bases empty, then a ball will be called. So it will be enforced. Games should get a little bit quicker for the upcoming season, and hopefully it'll still give a little bit of leeway to pitchers, though, because it's not as stringent as Major League, which is 18 seconds and 15 seconds.
But generally, because of these changes, it looks like the KBO is kind of following the MLB in these rules, right?
Absolutely. So I think the games will speed up a little bit, and I think more importantly, it'll help the players be more accustomed to the Major League game as well as international play.
All right. Thank you very much, Jason, for those
Pleasure as always.
sports updates. See you next time. And Walter, thank you, of course. See you next week as well.
Next week.